Welcome to Bruins Banter TV. This is a new television, or I guess you'd call it a web series, that we're going to be doing on the Bruins Banter blog this year on the Estevan Mercury's website. I'm Josh Lewis. I'm the sports reporter for the Mercury, and Reese Kelso, the Mercury's web/video editor, is behind the camera producing for us. You saw his fingers right there. So this is the pilot episode. Usually that means that the later episodes are going to be a whole lot better, but hopefully this one will be okay. And we're here at the Banter Place. We're bringing you some interviews with players, coaches, all kinds of stuff, and we'll mix in some new segments throughout the season. So this will be an informative thing, but also meant to be lighthearted. We'll be doing some fun things with players and things like that. So it's going to be a weekly show, hoping for about 10 to 15 minutes a week, but that'll vary a little bit from time to time. But anyway, that's enough about our show. Let's get on to the actual show. As you know, the Bruins held their training camp recently at Banter Place, and we took the opportunity to catch up with a couple of 20-year-old veterans. First, Connor Milligan, a defenseman who was acquired last season. Big things are going to be expected of Milligan this season. And then we talked to Nick Weiss, who was acquired from the AJHL earlier this summer. He's a 20-year-old winger who the Bruins are hoping for a little bit of grit and a little bit of scoring. Obviously, you've had a pretty good camp here so far through the first day and a half or so. Was it a good summer for you working out with?
Yeah, no, it was. I had a couple setbacks when you're dealing with injuries after the end of last season, but you get into summer, you don't really have any slowing down. You go right into work and working out, and it's pretty eventful for me, so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Was it something you kind of focused on even more, knowing that, this year you're, at that point anyway, you were the only 20-year-old defenseman coming back, going to be relied on pretty heavily back there?
Yeah, and especially coming back for a 20-year-old season, you want to put everything into your last year and try to make the most of it and kind of make some memories of the boys and hopefully go all the way this year.
Yeah. How do you feel about your camp so far? Scrimmage last night and the one this morning?
Really happy with it. I've kind of added a little bit of an offensive style in my game, and it's working out for me out there. I'm jumping into play and not sitting back on my heels as much as I was last year, kind of playing on my toes. And when there's opportunities there, I'm jumping, and I'm really happy with how the camp's turned out so far.
Obviously, one of the big things with training camp is getting to see a lot of different kids, some prospects and guys, back to their second year and kind of thing. Who are some of the other guys that have impressed you so far?
Well, I mean, guys coming back, you got Reach and Tanner Fraze out there. They're always going to battle you hard, and they're always going to come at you. And guys like Poskus, I watched him last night, and he's always calm and cool. But some of the younger guys. Robinson, who's my roommate, and he's come out and he's played well. He's a big guy and he's good stay-at-home D-man. So yeah, I think we got a lot of good prospects coming up, and it should be a good team. Yeah, you were one of the shooters there for the goalie competition with Teddy there. What did you think of the goalies that were there? It's competitive. There's a lot of guys that can be vying for that spot. Of course, you got Steve there. He's a pretty good backstop there, but I mean, there's a lot of guys competing for that second spot, and it's in my mind, it's up for grabs right now. There's a lot of good players out there.
Yeah. For yourself, what kind of expectations do you have for your last year junior?
Just impact each and every night. I like to kind of bring that intensity, a little bit of chippiness, and I'm a bit of a smaller guy, but I like to get in there and get in with the big guys. But I mean, just impact player each night. Try to stay at home, keep the puck out of the net, keep the guys calm, and hopefully play a little bit of leadership role.
Yeah. Going to put you on the spot a little bit. I think you know what's coming.
Yeah.
No captain right now for the team. I would say anyway, I think a lot of people would say that you're kind of a leading candidate for that. What would that mean to you to wear the seat?
It would, of course, mean a ton, especially for your last year. But I mean, you look up and down our roster, we got a lot of guys that can play that role. So I mean, I'm gonna keep working hard and see where it takes me. But by no means am I gonna put myself into that position where I'm gonna kind of lay off and think I have it, because you got to earn everything with this team, and we got a lot of guys that can play that leadership role, and that's kind of a big thing of this team.
Yeah. For the team overall, obviously expectations higher than they were last year. You've got so many 93-born kids that have a year under their belts now. And, obviously you've lost some key guys too, but you've added some guys. What do you think the team can build this year?
I think with our team from last year, especially having that kind of sour taste in our mouth from Weyburn, and I hope a lot of guys did remember that series. It was a hard-fought series. Could have gone either way, really. And I think with a lot of our younger guys that do have that vet experience now, it should be a good group of guys that can come out and play each night and hopefully have a good one.
Nick, obviously you were acquired by the Bruins a few weeks ago. Just first talk about what it's been like getting used to Estevan and a new team.
It's been a great place so far. Everyone's treated me really well. I've gotten to get a look at the new facility, and it's super nice. And so far, Estevan's been great to me.
Let's talk about your skill set and kind of what kind of player you are.
Well, more of a power forward. I like to get in the corners and hit. I think I have a bit of a finesse side to me. I have some hands and good vision, but I like to get in the corners and muck it up and create space for me and my line mates.
Do you think you can, be a solid offensive player here as well? Obviously, there's going to be some opportunities for guys to take those kind of roles.
Yep, I expect myself to contribute offensively this year and be able to help with the team a lot in that department.
What's it like coming to a team that, obviously has big expectations this season, should contend for a championship this year in your last season?
That's great. I mean, it's nice to come to a team that expects to do well, and everyone on the team expects to do well and they want to do well. So hopefully that translates into moving up in the standings.
All right, thanks, Nick. Welcome back to Banter TV. We're with Bruins Director of Player Personnel, Rick Oakes. Rick, you've been scouting the SJHL for a lot of years. You've got a lot of experience in the field. You've looked at, I don't even want to guess how many players. And this is going to be a segment we're going to do throughout the season where we talk to Rick about a different prospect in the Bruins organization, give you a little bit of an inside look at what the player has done in the midget ranks and what the team hopes he can do in the future. So, Rick, who are we talking about today?
We're going to talk today about Rylan Pachovitz. He's a 95 goaltender out of Saskatoon. He's entering his second season with the Moose Jaw Generals. Last year he had a great year with them, and they're expecting him back to be a leader and show their young guys the way here. We're happy with Rylan. He's been to our spring and fall camps for 2 years now, and we're looking forward to having him next year as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he's kind of been a veteran of the camps now. I know people got a look at him at fall camp last year, and he really impressed there, and he kind of has been ever since. What kind of a goalie would you describe him as?
He's just very sound technically, very good mechanics. He moves very well laterally. He's a smaller guy, so he's very, very sound technically and doesn't rely too much on his athleticism, but he can move very well. So.
Last year in the midget AAA ranks, 249 goals against average, 914 save percentage, and 22 appearances. Obviously, he's shown at the AAA level that he can play very well. What are your hopes for him at the SJHL level eventually?
Well, we're hoping he can do the same thing. Between him and his partner last year in Moose Jaw, they led the league for the majority of the season. They were the top tandem by far, and we're expecting him to do the same thing this year as a 17-year-old and step in next year with the Bruins as an 18-year-old and continue that on. And we want him to pressure our number one guy and maybe take that role at some point during the season. So we're very high on Rylan and looking forward to having him as part of our program.
Obviously, he'll have a bit of competition over the next few years. You've got a pretty solid group of goaltenders there, 94s and 95s. And I guess we'll get to that in our next segment when we'll be talking about another goalie. Welcome back to Bruins Banter TV. The Bruins had 30 players left in camp as of Thursday, so we thought we'd show you a little bit about each player. There's obviously a few new names in this group, a few rookies, and guys that have a bit of junior experience under their belts, but are obviously new faces to Estevan. So here's a bit of a look at the Bruins depth chart as of Thursday. So up front, we've got 17 forwards still in the picture to make the team, which is quite a bit, obviously, and the Bruins will be looking to cut down a little bit. Among that group, you've got 9, I guess we'd say veteran forwards, guys that have played junior before. 7 of those are returning from last year, and then you've got Nick Weiss, who was brought in over the summer, as well as Austin Doe, who played a little bit here last year, but for the most part played in WHL. After those guys, you've got 8 other players who are trying to make this roster, some obviously with a better chance than others. At the top of the list, you'd have to put Hudson Morrison and Wyatt Garrigan. Those are a pair of 94-born wingers. Morrison really blew everybody away at the team spring camp and also had a great fall camp. He played about 36 games with the Wayway Wolverines in the Manitoba Junior League last year. Didn't put up much for numbers, but he's just blown the team away so far, and they're expecting an immediate impact from him. And the same goes for Wyatt Garrigan. He's an Estevan product who played with the Tisdale Trojans last year in midget, put up almost a point a game. And Garrigan's a guy with kind of a feisty edge to him. He's a physical player who can put up offense as well. So he's another guy with a skill set where the Bruins expect that he'll be able to contribute right away. Other guys with a pretty good shot of making the team include Ben Williams. He's also an 18-year-old from Manitoba who's really kind of burst onto the scene at spring camp and again at fall camp. He's a player who brings an all-around game. You probably won't see him explode offensively in the SJHL, but he's got good checking ability. He's shown the ability to penalty kill really well in training camp. Another guy like that is Brendan Halbowatz. He played with Regina in the midget AAA ranks last year. Another guy who he'll put up a bit of offense, but he's more of an all-around player who can contribute in any number of roles. Another player with probably a good shot to make the team is Dayton Picard. He's a center from Stoughton. Picard has a lot of skill, but as a center, obviously he'll be relied on to take some face-offs and do some other things that are expected of a center. So he's a player who's got a good shot to stick on the third or fourth line to start. And then you've got a few other guys. Dylan Johnner from Estevan had a slow start with Moose Jaw in midget last year, but picked it up toward the end of the year. You've also got Tyson Vallette. He's a 19-year-old actually who played with Laurence last year. He spent 26 games with the Ice Wolves, only the 5 points, but obviously he's not a player that will be expected to produce a whole lot. And Justin Nychuk is another 19-year-old who's kind of come out of nowhere. He played a little bit in Junior B last year, and he's actually done really well in training camp. So that is a look at your forwards. The Bruins will be looking to get down to 14 or so. On the blue line, probably even more congested there. 11 defensemen still left in camp as of Thursday. The Bruins were going to take 8 to start the year. You've got 6, I guess what you would call veterans. You've got 5 guys who were back from last year, and then the player who is a bit older than most of the hopefuls is Nick Silva. He's a 19-year-old who kind of bounced around a bit last year. He played in the NAHL with Minot. He played in a couple other leagues, but he's really impressed so far. A big defenseman who likes to fight, and the Bruins are obviously looking for those kind of players on their blue line. So he's a guy who has a very good chance of making this team. Brett Dumaine is a guy who a lot of people kind of fell in love with at spring camp. He's 6'4" for an 18-year-old. He can play defense and forward. Obviously, the Bruins will be looking to use him probably more on D, but that's something that they kind of got as an ace in the hole for trying to make the team. He can provide a little bit more to them than most of the defensemen in the running. There's also David Robertson, who played for Southwest in Manitoba last year for midget AAA. The Bruins like him at both ends of the ice. He's a guy who's got a pretty good chance of sticking here. There's also Wyatt Trumbley, who is an 18-year-old who played Junior B in BC last year. And I don't think a whole lot was known about him going into training camp, but he was one of the guys who really impressed the coaching staff, and he's done pretty well in exhibition games. So he's a guy who probably wouldn't have had much of a shot at the start of the process, but he's really started to grow on the Bruins and will probably be sticking around for a bit longer at least. And finally, Zach Douglas is a 17-year-old defenseman, actually the only 17-year-old still left in the picture to make the team. Douglas played with the Moose Jaw Generals in midget AAA last year. He's done nothing but blow away the Bruins pretty much at every turn. He's a guy who can put up some offense, but he's also very steady in his own end. And there is actually a very, very good chance for him to make this team as a 17-year-old. That's a look at your blue line. So obviously, like I said, 8 guys will be sticking there to start the year. In goal, things are a lot more clear at this point with 2 goalies left on the roster. Those would be Stephen Glass, the starter last year, as well as 18-year-old Travis Pelche, who the team's pretty high on. He had a good year with the Regina Pac Canadians last year. The only question in goal is Stephen Glass. Currently, his knee is not 100% from an injury that he had last year. He is scheduled to have an appointment today, Monday, to see how the knee is doing. The team really doesn't know at this point whether he'll be ready to start the season or not later this week. So if he's not ready, they'll have to try a number of things. First off is that last year's backup Tyler Ross may not be out of the picture after all. He tried a couple of options over the summer. He tried the QMJHL, USHL, didn't work out. So there's a chance that he may be back in the picture if the Bruins need him. And if that doesn't work out, obviously they'll have to try to explore the trade route and find a guy who can fill in for Glass on a regular basis. After a lot of talking by me, I'm finally done, and that is a look at the 30 players that were left in camp as of Thursday. Welcome back to Bruins Banter TV. We're joined by Bruins head coach and GM Keith Cassidy. Keith, first, I meant to ask you, does it bother you when people leave out the GM part of your title, like I frequently do in print?
No, not at all. I mean, it is part of my job, and it's what I do day to day. And but obviously, the public part of it is the coaching part, and that's probably what most people are interested in. So no, it doesn't bother me one little bit.
So obviously, mainly what we're talking about today is training camp last weekend, and you've played, at the time of this interview, you've played 2 preseason games, that being the rookie game Monday against Notre Dame and obviously Wednesday against Weyburn. Just talk about what you've seen from the group that's still sticking around so far.
Well, first off, the rookie game in Notre Dame I thought went really well. It's an opportunity for most of our midget age players to get out there and just be part of the Bruin organization and show what they can do. We had 4 guys held over from that game that went into the game the other night against Weyburn, and I thought they did a good job. It was a little slow start to that Weyburn game, but I saw some good things out there, saw some things I didn't like, and it's all going to factor into our decisions. So right now I'm pretty optimistic about what we have in camp, and we'll see a little more over these next 2 exhibition games.
You had about 75 players in camp. I know you made the comment that it was probably the most competitive one you'd been involved with. Obviously, some tough decisions after that. I mean, you have to cut down pretty much in half before your preseason action starts.
Yeah, and still as of right now, we've still got 11 defensemen here, 11 defensemen and 6 lines of forwards. So. And they're all making a strong case to be around for different reasons. And it's just, for us, it's a matter of figuring out who fits where and what they're going to bring to this hockey club and how they can make us successful. So it's a good problem to have. And like you said earlier, it's probably the most competitive camp in terms of spots that myself or Cole or any of us have ever been involved with. So we're fortunate that way.
Going back to the rookie game there on Monday, usually it's more of a game for the kids that are just getting experience. So, most of them will go back to AAA afterward. Who are some of the younger guys who kind of showed you that they could be, they could make an impact in the future?
Well, I really liked what Daniel Warner did, not just in the rookie game, but all throughout camp and even in the exhibition game the other day. And we're really hoping that he wants to be part of our organization going forward. And I think this year was just a matter of numbers in terms of what the talent and the age of our group is. Any other year, it might have been an opportunity for him to make the club. Same thing with Edwin Hookinson. I thought he was outstanding, and again, he would be the 12th guy on our 12-man unit right now on defense, and playing another year midget isn't going to hurt him, I don't think. I think it's going to help him with his confidence, but we foresee him being an impact player for this team going forward. And, I think as well from the rookie game, I think, we had 2 goaltenders that went in there and played real well, and Cody Murray and Brett Luchuk, I think, made strong cases for themselves this year as well. So I think things are looking good going forward.
The game against Weyburn on Wednesday, as you said, it kind of had a slow feeling to it at times. When there's not a whole lot of offense in a game, does that kind of make it a bit tougher to evaluate guys when obviously part of what you're looking at is offense, but there wasn't a whole lot of that?
There wasn't. I mean, and again, it's early in the exhibition season. Guys are still getting used to one another. There's no real, on either side, there's no real systems in place. So you're looking for the natural skill and ability of everybody and how they can fit together that way. I don't mind the, we did get off to a slow start. It wasn't a highly offensive game, but what I was looking for the most part was how do these guys play defense? And because that's the first thing you got to learn is if you can play defense, then I don't mind having you out there on the ice at any given time. But I know the offensive capabilities of most of these guys. How they handle the responsibility without the puck and in our own zone is definitely a focus of the coaching staff.
You mentioned Edwin Hookinson earlier, 95 D-man. Another 95 D-man that's looking pretty good and probably has a good shot to make the team is Zach Douglas. How has he impressed you so far?
He's really been impressive. He is another guy that played in the rookie game and then played again in the Weyburn game. He wasn't scheduled to play in the Weyburn game, but we had an unfortunate injury just before the game, and he came down and got dressed and got out there in a hurry, and he performed really well. He's a 95 that I think is probably the most physically mature and able to handle the strength and the size of guys in our league right now. So he does have a very good chance of sticking around. So.
One other guy I wanted to talk about, Hudson Morrison. Obviously, there's some expectations for him this year to step in and maybe make some noise. We saw him on the first line for a little bit in camp with Neufeld and Olsen. Is that something you're maybe thinking about sticking with?
Well, it's certainly an option. We've got several looks that we can go with that way, but in terms of the way things shaped up, I think he fits in there quite nice. He's certainly got the speed, the tenacity, and the offensive ability to help complement those guys. What I liked about him in camp playing with Olsen and Neufeld is he opened up a lot of space for those guys. He was digging in the corners. He was always had his feet moving and putting pucks in the right place. And him and Olsen have a little bit of history together. They obviously played in Southwest for a bit together, so playing off that a little bit. But that's not to say that it's set in stone that he's going to be there. We've got some guys on the right side that could probably push for that position as well, and we'll see that over the next couple of games.